Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to warmly welcome you to the Global Investor Summit. In this third edition of the Singapore FinTech Festival, organized by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, we have brought together the investment and the enterprise communities, showcasing the best of ASEAN's growth enterprises. Today's expanded event will include a new component called METCH, which is an acronym for Meet ASEAN's Talents and Champions. METCH is a curated deal-making platform which aims to connect global capital with ASEAN enterprise community. Already, participating investors have indicated their intentions to invest up to US $12.2 billion into ASEAN enterprises over the next 3 years. This interest shown by the investors in our region is indeed encouraging. 2017 marked the first year when private equity and venture capital investments into Asia overtook Europe for the first time. Investments into Asia grew 40% last year to reach US $160 billion, constituting some 28% of global investments. Fundraising in Asia rose 6% to $66 billion US, indicating stronger interest and more dry powder to be deployed in the region. ASEAN's prospects have also improved. Private equity and venture capital investments into ASEAN almost tripled to reach $23.5 billion US in 2017. Prominent deals included the $2 billion funding round of Lazada by Alibaba, Grab closing its last funding round at US $2 billion, and Gojek's last round funding closing at US $1.5 billion. Going forward, momentum in ASEAN private equity and venture capital is expected to remain robust for three main reasons. Firstly, on the back of strong ASEAN economic growth, there is rising need for capital to finance the regional expansion of high-growth enterprises. Secondly, companies are staying private longer. There is now a greater recognition amongst ASEAN companies that private capital is not simply just another source of funds, but also a form of smart capital that comes with technology, business know-how, and networks useful for companies to grow and scale. Thirdly, ASEAN's immense infrastructure needs offer opportunities for investors to channel funds into bankable projects. In Singapore, the private equity and venture capital scene is evolving rapidly. There are currently more than 220 private equity and venture capital managers located in Singapore. And for the past 5 years, their asset under management grew at a CAGR of 28% to reach 190 billion Singapore dollars. Around 85% of their investments went into Asia, with ASEAN followed by India and China as top investment destinations. This suggests investors' increased awareness of ASEAN's strong investment potential. Singapore stands to ride the momentum of these developments in the private markets space. To further enhance the financing ecosystem and position Singapore as a leading global financial center in Asia, I'm happy to announce that the Monetary Authority of Singapore will launch a new US $5 billion private market program. Under this program, MAS will allocate US $5 billion of its own funds as part of its investment portfolio into the private markets asset class. These funds will be placed for management with top global private equity and infrastructure fund managers who are committed to deepening their existing presence or establishing a significant presence in Singapore. This program builds on the success of MES's existing external fund manager program for the public markets asset class, which has anchored global asset managers in Singapore and catalyzed the growth of our asset management industry. Through this US $5 billion program, a stronger platform for growth finance and infrastructure development will emerge. It is complementary to the Match initiative I spoke about, and also MES's collaboration with industry to establish private market platforms to connect growth companies with investors. Collectively, these initiatives will catalyze a deeper and more vibrant private markets ecosystem in Singapore that will strengthen the financing channels to support enterprises. To complement Singapore's role as a leading global investment gateway into Asia, we are also working to develop an ecosystem of innovative companies and organizations which are experimenting new ways to solve the most challenging problems in the world today. From startups to multinationals, founders and enterprises are choosing Singapore to create, test, and export innovation solutions to Asia and beyond. Enterprise Singapore has been developing this enterprise ecosystem by riding on the ease of doing business in Singapore, the availability of world-class infrastructure and collaborative spaces, robust IP protection laws, and access to international markets. There are now about 130 co-innovation incubators, venture builders, and accelerators anchored in Singapore. These players are revolutionizing how enterprises start up and scale internationally. In addition, Singapore is encouraging more corporates to set up their in-house co-innovation incubators and accelerators here to bolster the Singapore innovation ecosystem. While startups bring in new technology and ability to the fore, corporates bring experience, industry know-how, access to markets, and distribution capabilities. Zcom MedTech is one such mid-sized corporate innovation accelerator established by a Singapore precision engineering specialist. Its mission is to discover and develop new technologies and solutions to solve the medical technology sector, and they've committed some 15 million Singapore dollars for investments into medical and medtech startups. Their portfolio companies include a cancer diagnostic startup, Histoidex, a medical imaging startup, Pellucid, and surgical robot startup, Biobot. For venture builders, their business model is built around quickly and efficiently getting new enterprises off the ground by leveraging on highly skilled talents and meshing them with viable and scalable business models. An example of a venture builder is Antler. It was founded in Singapore last year by tech leaders who have built successful enterprises around the world. They are creating a global innovation platform to build, invest in, and scale new companies by training local talents and bringing in top technology entrepreneurs from around the world. Antler provides these talents with the resources to work on ideas that can address the world's biggest opportunities and challenges to create value for both businesses and society. A distinctive element of Singapore's thriving ecosystem is the international diversity of launchpads that connect us to key global innovation hubs. We have anchored overseas partners from Australia, France, Israel, amongst others, to enable two-way exchange of enterprises and to serve as a point of entry into their markets. A recent highlight is Singapore's collaboration with the German accelerator Southeast Asia, or GASI. GASI was partner Enterprise Singapore and the EDB to organize a 2-year program called Scalerator to support more than 40 Singapore-based enterprises to access German and the wider European markets. they will have the chance to plug themselves and gain first-hand experience of the markets, build connections with local mentors and suitable German Mittelstand, as well as understand local employment and regulatory guidelines. The Accelerator program, which will commence in the first quarter next year, the Accelerator program will commence in first quarter next year. The results of our startup enterprise development has been encouraging. We have grown the ecosystem from 2,800 tech startups in 2006 to 4,300 tech startups in 2017, of which 30% are deep tech startups. All these will not be possible without access to relevant talent. To access the global talent pool, MES, together with the Ministry of Manpower, will provide flexibility in the hiring of foreign specialists. Concurrently, MES will build capabilities in the local talent pool through education, mid-career training, and capability transfers. A key characteristic of this industry is speed. To reduce transactions costs and shorten the time needed to close investment rounds, the Singapore Academy of Law, together with the Singapore Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, jointly developed a venture capital investment model agreement for early-stage VC transactions. This is a set of standardized investment documentation that can be used in seed rounds and early-stage financing in order to allow startups to focus their time on their businesses. The 2017 report from Startup Genome, a US-based organization, credits Singapore's government's policies in this field. It ranks Singapore number one location for startup talent and third highest for global connectedness out of 20 global startup ecosystems. Singapore is also ranked as the most innovative city in Asia-Pacific, according to Bloomberg and INSEAD. But there is still a lot we need to do to make Singapore an even more innovative ecosystem that startups and enterprises will find attractive and call home. This year's Global Investor Summit will be an interactive platform where global thought leaders from both the investment and enterprise communities are gathered together to share important insights on how investments can be catalyzed for high-growth enterprises. Having a thriving private markets financing ecosystem work in tandem with a vibrant enterprise ecosystem enables global capital to connect with enterprises more efficiently and effectively. I'm confident that the insights derived from this Global Investor Summit will provide useful advice for us in Singapore to make some small strides in this virtuous cycle. On this note, may I wish all of you a very fruitful summit. Thank you very much.